So not long ago, I uploaded a video about Limbus Company, and since then, a ton of y'all have been asking me to play the game, and I will, I promise you. I'm gonna finish Expedition 33 first, and then next on my list is Limbus Company. But before playing, I've been told to watch this video called Let's Talk About World Building and how Limbus and Arknights mastered it. I think world building is such a huge, unique part of gaming, especially gacha gaming, that can be really hit or miss sometimes, so I'm curious how they've mastered it. Let's give this a watch.
Okay, world building. Let's talk about it. I feel like with many games, world building is really not talked about a lot. Actually, I'd probably go so far as to say it's sort of being made less of a focus with newer games.
I definitely agree with that. It is 100% being made less of a focus. I think the story itself and animations have creeped up to being top #1 priority for a lot of people, and world building kind of took a backseat, but it also kind of makes me appreciate good world building even more.
Which, to a lot of people saying that probably sounds off, but here's the thing. When it comes to this video, there's two major examples I want to focus on for world building.
Okay.
Arknights and Limbus Company, for two reasons. One,
now these are both games that I have never played, by the way. The only thing I've seen of Limbus is the video that I uploaded last week, I think it was. If you're interested, go check that out. So I'm excited to see how they
the games I play
manage
nowadays are gacha games, and most of the games I talk about are gacha games. A depressing existence, I know, but the second reason is, even aside from the stigma of gacha games, these two actually have some of the best world building I've seen from games, period.
Interesting.
And that's mainly helped because...
Oh, best world building in gaming, period, not even just in gacha games. Okay, well, now I'm very interested.
They're live service games, Limbus also having 2 games prior to it to build up the world. But what I've noticed is that some newer live service games, mainly gachas, actually not caring too much about the world and just focusing on specific characters for whatever they build up.
Yep.
The main reason being, why the fuck does it matter to build up an entire place in the game's world when you can instead just spend the time investing in an easy to like character and rake in the cash that way? Or go the...
I do think that's very fair. A lot of people play gacha games and spend money on gacha games for the characters, not necessarily for the world. But I do deadass feel like good world building can really aid a good character and make them sell even better.
Brown does 2 route and... Jesus fucking Christ.
Okay.
But because Limbus and Arknights have some of the best world building I've ever seen, I want to talk in depth about them and what makes them work, why they're a masterclass, and what they do to make their world work that other games don't. But hell, aside from that, this is just a topic I've wanted to fanboy about for a while, so this video is pretty much...
I am all about people just yapping and fanboying about what they're passionate about. I love that shit.
A self-indulgent excuse to do that. Okay, thanks, bye, intro over. So, Arknights, there's about 2 ways I can show why its world building is peak.
Okay.
One involves me sitting back and doing a boring analytical breakdown, which personally I would rather be violently unmade in this corporeal realm than to do something that bland.
Interesting.
While the other involves me rambling on about the lore like a madman, which perfectly shows just why it works. So I'm gonna do the second one because it's way more fun. Now, be prepared for a rant, but this rant is the best showcase I can give of the world.
Now, this might help me as well because I don't plan to play the original Arknights. It seems far too long. However, I do want to play Arknights Enfield, and a lot of people have said it's basically a sequel to the previous Arknights, so learning the story could help quite a bit.
Arknights has an entire world map for the setting of the game, Terra, and all the places on the map are actually different. Like, the difference between Columbia and Sargon is in generic RPG Town 101 versus generic RPG Town 102. The geography, cultures, and races of the characters from them are largely different. Like, for example, Columbia is mainly inspired by America.
Cool designs,
Big corporations have a lot of power and are looking for whatever scientific breakthroughs they can have, which is why technology from Columbia, especially anything from the military, is seen as some of the best. They're a superpower in the world, and some coups may have tried to happen. But Sargon, on the other hand, is, instead of being this big industrial area, very diverse. There's some places ran by royalty and all of that, but the rural areas are just tribes, and the technology is... Backwater is a bit of an undersell. I mean, dear God, some fucking fish gods, don't question it too much, pulled up to the tribes one day and dropped their fucking rock mixtape on them, and that shit was so revolutionary to them. It was like seeing a light bulb go off for the first time.
Interesting. I feel like a lot of games do this, so it's got to go deeper. A lot of games have different regions with different aesthetics and different advantages and advancements in general. So what makes Arknights so different in this regard?
It was so significant to where they started to idolize the song. But that's how backwater the place is. It's muddy as fuck, old school as fuck, and hell, even the people who live there are crocodiles, so it's much different than America Light version.
That's cool. The different races, I do like that, like having crocodile people, and I think that's a very good thing.
Which, and actually, thinking about it, it's a muddy backwater place with crocodile people.
Yeah.
Sargon's basically just fucking Florida, isn't it? Okay, maybe that wasn't the best example I could have used for talking about differences. Instead, Lithuania. Let's focus on that.
I get it, though, I get it.
It's based off of Germany. No, that one pretty significant point in history you're probably thinking about is not a thing in Terra.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
yes, they did have a dictator, and yes, he may have done human experiments.
Oh.
Okay, damn, this video's off to a really bad start.
Yeah.
But Lethania's culture is mainly shown in music and the importance they place on it, and their love for music is weaved into how much they've explored arts, basically magic in the world of Arknights. And the best showcase of that is the... It's a German word, so forgive me for what's about to transpire. The Guldenskits, that
Golden... I'm not going to German either,
is
bro.
a piece of music made from Originium Arts that is Lethania's national anthem and binds everyone
Bro, on a side note, this place looks stunning.
of the country under one nationality.
Christ,
and
like a
that's
light and dark
honestly an
tower,
undersell.
too.
The Golden Movement has had, over
With a bridge in the middle? Like, oh, I like this place.
years, more and more added to it from Lethanians to where it helped mold the culture, morals, and even the politics.
Okay.
And because for countless years this same Song of Arts was built up, it became nearly impossible to fully perform due to the length, which shows how important the song was to the entire country, Lethania, built off of 10 nations. I mean, essentially nations, probably closer to something like states coming together, all holding a copy of the song, all under that same banner. However,
Damn.
Lethania didn't remain as 10 states in total. Because
Now,
in the
okay, this place originally, the way that this guy's describing it at the very least, seems like very good world building specifically.
year 1967, Siracusa, imagine Italy with the weather of Britain, and it's pretty much run by the mob, split away from Lethania to become their own sovereign nation. And as an act to show their sovereignty, they ripped apart their copy of the movement. So basically imagine if every state had their own copy of the Declaration of Independence and California wanted to become its own country, so they publicly ripped it to shreds. As you would imagine, that does not sit well with all the other states.
Yeah, that would be civil unrest at the very least.
Part of Lethania, which caused a war due to that act of treason. And the Golden Song was broken. Because of this, Lethania was in a state of chaos until the Witch King, the dude that later goes crazy and maybe does human experimentation, don't question it too much,
the dictator,
rebuilt the song. He literally just walked in and fucking soloed that shit.
Oh.
The most complicated song
Bro, he looks fucking awesome. I'm gonna put it out there.
in the
Jeez.
history of the world, and he himself rewrote it, rebuilt it, and recognized Siracusa
Bro,
as
looks
its own sovereign
majestic,
nation.
dude.
Now, because Siracusa split off from Lethanian culture, they were kind of left off on their own to really market an identity.
I
And
love the
because of
black
this,
and
some
white.
other cultures found their way into Siracusa. Like, their laws and all that were really inspired by the Colombian system, but their faith was also heavily influenced by Laterano.
Okay.
What is Laterano? Imagine the Vatican. It's a hyper-religious nation mostly inhabited by the Sanctum. Unsurprisingly, them bitches got halos and wings. Now,
Sick.
there are other races in Laterano, but they're mostly not, like, okay, they're not, like, outright discriminated against, but they do get the vibe that Sanctas are kind of just put on their own pedestal above them is sort of how the situation's looking. And the problem with that is that the main race of Laterano that aren't Sanctas are Liberi.
What
from
a berry.
Iberia.
Oh.
Yeah, they were the most
Iberia.
creative with the names, but a big part of that reason is because Laterano...
But I think that's also fine. I think not using too much jargon to differentiate things and keeping it in kind of within the same, like, sonosphere, probably the wrong word, same bracket, is a very good thing for world building because it makes you be able to remember these details so much faster, right? It's like the Iberia from Iberico or something, or like the Brits from Britain, like instead of like the Smints from Bolivaria, like, you know, like making them sound similar makes them easier to associate with each other quicker.
borders Iberia, and much like Siracusa, Laterano religion has a large influence there. Now,
Okay.
off in the past, Iberia was on track to being a superpower. They were having a golden age,
Oh,
but
wow.
one thing completely destroyed that dream, the profound silence. Where the Seaborn, which is a race of monsters that are a hive mind which evolved to
This music is stunning as well.
whatever you fight them with, that has gigantic gods leading them, and in an alternate reality, wiped out the human race and evolved to fly to outer space to hunt even more, destroyed them. When the
Damn.
profound silence happened, the Seaborn tore through Iberia, aided by the Church of the Deep that wants everyone to be assimilated into the hive mind of the Seaborn, which caused Iberia's power on the global stage to dwindle. Hell, their strongest military force was the Navy, and now the seas are filled with countless Seaborn that can tear through their naval force. But the profound silence wasn't
Bro, I'm already invested in this game and I've never played it. Jesus.
actually terrible for everyone, surprisingly. It ended up helping a country called Siesta, in a way. Siesta was a trading outpost that was going to be used by Colombia to establish trade with Iberia using the seas as a way, but
and this is how you know it's kind of good world building and stuff, because I'm recognizing these names that have previously been brought up and remembering instantly what they kind of stand for, what they do, and the reason why they're spoken about. World building's a fascinating thing, dude.
Problem is, that sea was now filled with murderous fucking monsters that are always evolving as a hive mind, and the place they were trading to,
flood.
Yeah, they got fucked raw by those things, so they maybe ain't looking as lucrative.
Please comment down below if you know what the flood is. I feel like I'm getting too old for this, man. I feel like I'm getting too old to be making these references.
As a partner as they were in the past. And because of that, Siesta used this leverage of not being the most useful asset to Colombia to retain their independence. Only problem is, Victoria immediately wanted to annex them, so they decided to fall back under Colombia's jurisdiction while still having their sovereignty. Now the question is, why did Victoria want to do that shit? Answer is, it's based off of Britain. That's pretty much all the context you need. Now, the throne of...
He's not wrong, to be fair. Oh, if you don't know, just a little bit of research, you'll find it instantly.
Victoria remains empty. Asterisk, because I don't want to get into spoilers, and a lot of Victoria's current state is main story spoilers, but they have a long track record of getting into wars.
Okay.
The most notable one...
Good to know there's no spoilers in this video, so I can watch the Limbus part too.
The Battle of the Four Emperors. It was a war against the Empire of Gaul, which is inspired by France, because they pissed off pretty much all of their neighbors. Yep. They hurt the trading routes of Ursus, which is Russia, and they helped Colombia get their independence, which pissed off Victoria because originally Colombia was under Victoria's rule. And then Gaul started to want to take Lithuania as a vassal state through political alliance and marriages.
Jesus. Lots of politics happening in this game, I see.
And that helped fend off Victoria and Ursus from doing anything to them. Problem. The person they were trying to do this to, the ruler of Lithuania at the time, was the Witch King.
Oh,
remember the dude that rewrote the Golden Song, the most complex arts in history?
The best looking character I've seen in this video so far, by the way, but also probably the biggest douche.
On his own, pretty much known as the best arts caster in the entire world.
Oh, wow. He's that powerful?
They pissed him off with that game plan. He thought it was an insult, and as a very, very measured response, he turned the Gaul envoys into statues and shipped them back to Gaul.
Oh.
Okay, he does a little bit.
Hey, at least he didn't kill them, right?
Trolling.
Yeah.
Then, as a result, Gaul declared war against Lithuania.
Oh, great.
Even though the leader of Gaul, Corsica I, knew his opponent was the leader of Lithuania and the best arts caster known to man, he was kind of confident, because he knew the situation with Syracuse's independence caused some internal turmoil. And Victoria got double penetrated after their wars with Colombia and Iberia didn't pan out the best, and Ursus was about to be busy with trying to invade Kashmiris. Imagine Poland with more dubstep and a lot of knights. Okay. Now, this would be the 10th invasion they've done against them.
I like this guy's video style, bro.
A bit much, not gonna lie, but whatever. Means their oppositions were busy. So, perfect time to invade. Hell, he even got some casters from the Sarkaz royal court. They're fucking all strong as hell. Perfect time to...
Strong as hell, cool as hell, I'd pull.
To invade. So yeah, the Witch King dropped a fucking catastrophe on Gaul's fleet. Basically, imagine like a Category 10, EF5, whatever terminology you want to use in layman's terms. Imagine the biggest fucking tornado possible, and he dropped that on them. And that tornado also drops gigantic chunks of originium that gives you rock cancer.
Yeah.
Sir.
Okay, interesting. Originium is like the material used, right? I said it kind of looked like graphite when I saw some Arknight stuff before, but it's called originium. I did hear about that in the YouTube comments. I read y'all, so drop a comment below what you think.
When it affects you and you die, because you will die, it slowly kills you, your body explodes and gives other people that rock cancer. Now, this is a natural disaster in the world. It's so devastating to where nations put their cities on nomadic platforms so they can actively flee catastrophes and not have everything turned to dust. Hell, people are employed as catastrophe messengers just to say when one of those is about to hit so they can have everyone run away as fast as they can.
That's a cool detail to know. I did not know about that. Is that for all Arknights, like countries, regions?
And the Witch King dropped one directly on Gaul's fleet.
That's kind of fucked up, bro. Not gonna cap.
Yeah, because of this, the war reached a stalemate. And then Victoria saw what happened and joined in against Gaul because they were still mad.
Who is that? Oh my god, they look sick.
But Colombia and how Gaul was looking to constantly expand. Then Ursus also agreed to go after Gaul, which made the Battle of the Four Emperors. Ursus, Victoria, and Lithuania versus Gaul. Russia, Britain, and Germany against France. Victoria being led by the Duke of Wellington.
That's certainly a group of places to collab.
Now, for whatever ungodly reason, the Empire of Gaul decided this was an amazing time to double down and keep fighting. He was somehow fucking confident. And on October 17th...
Yeah, you gotta know when you kind of... Well, maybe not. I don't know, bro. That doesn't seem like a smart idea, to say the least.
The final battle of the 4 emperors happened. Here's a map detailing what was done in the battle. And in just 4 days, the rest of Gaul's forces were crushed and the emperor killed. And the result, Gaul was wiped off the map. Their capital used to be known as the capital of Terra, and that was turned to rubble. Their culture, their history, language, technology became obsolete. 30 million Gaul refugees were left. Some died due to the barren lands or the internment camps they were put into. And Gaul's land was split up between the 4 nations. And that is the best example as to why I love Arknights' world building. And no, it's not because the Battle of 4 Emperors was basically the Battle of Waterloo, but instead France couldn't come back after it. Now,
That is incredibly good world building.
not saying it isn't based that Terra's France canonically got destroyed and forgotten by the world, cause that was based, but it's not the sole reason I love the world building. It's cause I was able to start talking about Lithuania and seamlessly, or at least I hope it was seamless, connect all of these different countries into...
Literally connected every single one of the countries he spoke about into one plot point, and it all made sense, and you always refer back to what he said previously about other nations and what they stand for, the technology they have, and in your head you're like, oh, so they've probably got this kind of development and probably got this, and then, oh, the music guy, and then...
Terra, and say how they affect one another.
Yeah.
I was able to waffle on about all of these different places, and when talking about them, they're so interconnected to where it's hard not to mention the others. And honestly, if I wanted, I could have easily done this with the entire world map of Terra.
Yeah, that's
I could have
crazy,
took you on a
dude.
goddamn Miss Frizzle magical school bus adventure if I wanted to. I just decided not to because of time. But that's what I love. It feels real in a way. The areas and nations in the world don't feel isolated from one another. It doesn't feel like, oh, for 100 years, X country did this and no one else ever once had a hand in anything they did.
You know, and again, I know people don't like comparing games, but when you think about like Genshin Impact, for example, right? I kind of feel, at the start of this video, I felt like Genshin Impact kind of did this quite well. But after hearing all of that, Genshin Impact, Wuthering Waves, HSR, like all of these, I mean, they're definitely built in a very different way, don't get me wrong. But for Genshin as an example, it's like a lot of stuff in Mondstadt doesn't really affect Fontaine, and a lot of stuff in Natlan doesn't really affect other nations. At least as of yet, it probably will eventually. But right now, I get where this guy's coming from in terms of world building specifically. This is fucking impressive, dude.
Because that's what a lot of stories fall into. When thinking about how to build up all of these different areas in their world, a lot of them think about that place and the vibe they want from them, which leads to those areas being built with only that area in mind.
100%.
It's like they built the places in their world as very tall skyscrapers that are miles apart from one another. While something like Arknights is a city of fairly tall buildings right beside each other. Even if the places themselves are not as built up as locations in other stories, which, to be honest, not many other worlds have places as detailed in Arknights, but even if they weren't, the fact that they are all connected in the example I used prior makes the city seem much bigger than the sum of its parts.
True. I wonder if Enfield is going to do similar things. I'd be interested to see.
Because those parts aren't isolated from one another. Instead, they're inseparable. Yet in spite of this, in terms of vibe and how they visually look, they're different as hell. You can easily tell all of the countries apart, but they still feel connected because the history of these fictional places cannot be removed from one another. It doesn't feel segmented, except for more isolated nations like Aegir, but there's plot reasons behind that. It all comes together to be a world that is greater than the sum of its parts, and it's fitting in a way. Yes, there's a lot of talk about wars or having plots to cause more, and if it ain't war on the table, there's got to be some new political scandal to take the stage in geopolitics.
But that's just the story itself. It's not even necessarily world building. It's just the way that Arknights runs their plot points, right? Which I think is a perfectly fine thing.
Yeah. Terra is by and large a shithole of a world to live in.
Yep.
And that is what makes it feel real. It's
Exactly.
Not, oh,
because we live in a shithole world, is that what he's saying?
wanted to make the Vatican, so we made this place full of guns and crazy people legally bombing the streets. Instead, they did that, but also realized that since a significant chunk of the world also somewhat follows Laterano's religion, they can be used as a country to foster talks of peace with others, paired with how they largely stay out of wars, minus their wars with the Sarkaz, and guess what?
The Hague.
Laterano is a good place to hold these summit of nations. Enter guide ahead where this happens. And this interconnectedness makes the plot of Arknights so much better, because when you play an event or main story chapter and something significant happens, you know that will in turn affect the world at large.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fucking awesome. I really like that when you, even if it's like a limited time event, preferably a permanent event, of course, but when you're taking part in something like that, it's not just for the one time, like it's going to affect and have ripple effects throughout the entire world.
Unless an event story is really isolated to how it is on its own, which some are, a lot of the plots having far-reaching effects in the world makes it feel real. And that, paired with literally an entire timeline about the history of Terra, with Hyperglyph even making lore books for it, shows why the world building is in a class of its own. And there is more to talk about why it cooks, but I actually want to switch gears to Project Moon's works. Yes,
okay,
I know, it's me.
Here we go. This is probably the part of the video a lot of y'all are waiting for if you're interested in me playing Limbus Company, and I'm curious on how good their world building is, because this is probably going to get me excited to play, and I don't want to say I might play sooner than anticipated, but we'll see.
So no, the biggest Project Moon hater actually about to compliment their games. Man, what a surprise there. I ain't never seen that one before. So Project Moon actually does world building in a bit of a different way to Arknights. Little preamble. These are the 3 games PM's made. They all share the same world.
I still find it said that they made a game called Lobotomy Corp, but Limbus Company, it sounds, even Library of Ruina sounds very gacha. Limbus Company, I guess the word company does. Corporation, I guess it does. It's just the lobotomy that kind of throws me off.
Now, the world does feel very interconnected, similar to Arknights, but what makes it feel different is it treats everything like it's already existing. Now, that probably makes fuck nothing in terms of sense, but here's the thing. In Library of Ruina, a character called Malkuth says she comes from a nest with no color. Nests are the sort of big city of all these different districts, A to Z.
Yeah, I remember saying this looked like Hunger Games.
It isn't on the map, but it does exist. And anything outside of these nests are called the back streets. So when she says that she comes from a nest with no color, you would expect, like, some general explanation to that, right? Yeah. You would have had to have waited some years, because this line was never explained until Limbus Company, where you can see in T Corp,
what the hell?
All color has been stripped away and people need to pay with time to return the color to objects. A lot more to dive into there, but we're moving on for now. But T Corp and how their nest works was mentioned, though they never dived into it. It was said like a basic fact of the world. Oh, one nest just has no color. Everyone knows this. And they didn't care to explain. Now, of course, that style of introducing the world isn't the bog standard. They do explain general world-building stuff from time to time. Like the protagonist of Ruina, Roland, telling Angelica about the world because she spent her life sheltered. And by that I mean she spent millions of years, thousands of miles underground being pretty much tortured, but, you know.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so I'm assuming here, please correct me if I'm wrong, but based on the previous game's names and such, I would assume Limbus Company's a pretty dark game, which I'm all about, by the way.
Minor things aside, Roland acts as the introduction to the world.
Nice.
And for Limbus, Dante has amnesia, because it's a gacha game, of course the protagonist has to have amnesia.
Yeah, I kinda got that.
But it also works as a canon way to introduce the world to the player. But it doesn't feel like stuff is popping up when we see it. The world is like they already have everything planned out, and are just showing bits where it's relevant. That's not to say it's all planned out, because dear God, there's no way it is. We know they got some general planning for their works, but no way every single thing is fully mapped out.
Really? That's interesting. I've never thought about a game doing that, especially a gacha game, because again, with games like Genshin, it kind of is all mapped out and planned out, right? It's a totally premeditated story that we're just waiting for to be released. Is that not the case with Limbus here?
But hell, another example is R-Corp. In Lobotomy Corporation, they're just some rabbits that show up when you press a button, and they kind of go gorillas, bananas, killing everything. There's a lot of them, and they don't really dwindle in number. Couldn't tell you why. Probably just a gameplay thing. Then Ruina rolls around. Spoilers for the R-Corp section in it. All in all, not that important to the main plot of Ruina. But it's revealed that the singularity of R-Corp is cloning. That is why they have a near infinite amount of soldiers. But to fuel this cloning, they need energy, which is why they were at LobCorp's command, because they used their energy. They were on a contract. And that also explains why we could take them in Ruina, because that was after LobCorp fell, which meant that they didn't get the energy from them to just overwhelm the library. It's little things like this where it feels like everything just makes sense. The world isn't only explained at a time where it's important for the plot and that's that. Instead, concepts are brought up, and when they're mentioned, they might not actually matter. They're not entirely.
Yeah, I also feel like Genshin does this as well. I'm bringing up Genshin a lot because it's the main gacha game that I play, by the way. I feel like Genshin does that, where they bring something up and then they'll fill in the blanks like a year later even.
Entirely brought up as a talking point, but as something that exists in the world. And as times change, these little, mostly ignorable details make a lot more sense in the world.
I see.
Sort of like a mystery box way to tell a story. I mean, the best example is how all of the games show the railroad tracks around the city. We do not know shit about these railway tracks or why there are trains running on them, but in every game PM has made, we've seen these same tracks, but the explanation is for the future. It's not relevant now.
Oh, I kind of dig that. That's kind of fun. You're just waiting for the day where they reveal the truth.
To some people, this can be a little off because, to put it simply, we just want to hear more. We got all these different places in the world, and after years,
gacha gamers are impatient, I'm telling you.
Still don't know what a good chunk of these places' singularities are.
I'm one of them.
Singularity is sort of like a big piece of tech that has a corporation built around it. Which is also probably a good time to say, yeah, the world of Project Moon is a dystopian mirror of how capitalistic South Korea is, because that's where the company Project Moon is from.
Yeah, I didn't know that. It's a Korean gacha game.
But all of these wings have some singularity they're built around. F Corp has fairies that can unlock anything physically or conceptually. The newer G Corp singularity is the ability to control the weight of an object. Maybe it can actually help take the weight off of me having to carry my fucking team in Marvel Rivals. The older G Corp gave people insectoid augmentations. Don't think about it too much. J Corp can lock or steal anything on a conceptual level, like locking someone's ability to speak about something. K Corp's got some ampules that can instantly heal anyone. M Corp has okay, this one's a little weird. So they got something called Moonlight Stones, which basically protects your mind. Like any mental pain, it shuts off, and they can amplify a single purpose for you to focus on, or it can be a...
Yeah, I will say all of these, even if people consider them spoilers, I got the okay before watching this that it would not be spoilers because I have like no context to any of this shit, and I'll keep it a buck, dude. By the time I actually play Limbus, I'ma forget all this. I really only take in detail when I can sit with it and go through it myself, which I'm really excited for. But after this 26-minute video, my brain is going to shut off and forget most of the info that I've just digested. I'll keep it a buck.
Mental barrier. N Corp has canned experiences, which when you take one, you get to experience whatever is in the can.
Oh, cool.
The most popular of which being the canned suicide feeling. Make of that either being horrid or wholesome, as you will. P Corp makes objects able to bend instead of break. Boring, not gonna lie. T Corp can control time. Major Sigma energy, much cooler than Piss Corp over there. U Corp is known for their ability to keep food in stasis, being forever fresh, and the resonant...
I would love that ability, just putting it out there. I think keeping food fresh forever would be so fun.
Tuning fork, which can fuse two objects together into one, and can split them apart when wanted. And W Corp is one of the most interesting ones that really show how the world ticks. Because, as I said, the city is being held up by all these different districts, each of them having their own singularities that they revolve around, which must be kept as secret as possible, mainly so a rival wing doesn't steal their idea and take them out of business, thus causing the wing to collapse until a new one can take its place, but also because they may be exploited for business. Like, K-Corp uses video footage of tragedies to get this eye to cry and then uses its tears, which are refined into the healing ampules. Then other wings start to pick up on the fact that K-Corp...
That sounds kind of fucked up, not gonna lie.
...seems really interested in buying footage of tragedies, so they started charging them more for it. But the case of W-Corp is interesting. So a wing fell and their technology became known to other wings, the ability to travel to a different dimension. On its own, not much to be honest. But W Corp still bought that
that sounds like a lot to me.
technology, and they used it in warp trains, which are trains that are so fast, they'll get you to your destination in 10 seconds. Anywhere you can go, it'll be a quick and easy trip. And the way they do that is by teleporting them to a different dimension. However, to the passengers, the travel is not just 10 seconds. In fact, it actually takes thousands of years. But that brings up a new problem, which is when you trap people in a train for thousands of years, they will inevitably go insane. The most gruesome example of which being shown in Runna, where the passengers try to kill themselves but can't die. And learning of this newfound immortality, they start to hurt themselves just to feel something, some stimulation, anything to keep them from going insane.
Bro, this imagery is nuts.
This may work for some months, hell if you're lucky, even some years, but inevitably, everyone goes insane, to the point of making their bodies into flesh melded together and bits of pieces lining the bus as decoration. This happens on almost every single warp train, but to the public, there's nothing wrong with them. You go in, 10 seconds later, you're at your destination, no harm, no foul. That's because W Corp's actual singularity is the ability to return something to its previous state. So long as a passenger's pieces are still in the train, they can be restored to how they were before the thousands of years, memories included. But then, why take thousands of years? If the warp trains can go into a different dimension and teleport people to where they need to be, there's no...
Okay, so I'm trying to take this in while also, like, listening to the godforsakenly good music in the back.
way it's gotta take thousands of years, right? And more importantly, why don't they age or die? That's because W Corp uses a device from T Corp that collects time, thus helping to...
again, interconnecting all the different districts. Oh my goodness, dude. Okay.
Power T Corp singularity, which includes the use of time. Those thousands of years are used as something to sell to T Corp. They don't need to take thousands of years, but it pays them. And the passengers can be reverted to how they were pre-torture, so no information about how terrible they are comes out. Because of this, they have protocols in place for when colored fixers,
they don't even remember.
The strongest fighters in the city, take their trains. And to the wealthy and powerful, information about how W Corp trains are not the funnest is known. But because of that, they have stasis chambers in first class where the wealthy can pass those years by without being conscious at all. And guess what else? They got energy from
Bro,
Elcor.
this shit's dystopian as fuck, bro.
And because it fell, they're not doing the best business-wise. But if they were to collapse, T-Corp would be put in a tough position because of their arrangement. And that perfectly shows the world of Project Moon. Corporations helping each other only if it's good for business, as they prey upon the population in any way they can.
Kinda seems like the real world. Maybe not to this extent, but you know what I mean?
Even torture. It's dark,
Yeah,
it's
not to this
gruesome,
extent.
but I'll be fucked if I can't also say I can fully see corporations in the real world doing some of this shit if
that's
they're
what I'm
able
saying,
to. Every
dude.
aspect in the city feeds into its overall vibe. An oppressive place where profit and protection means more than a soul. Because of that, you have gangs spring up called the syndicates, most of which are run by some of the most insane individuals you've ever seen.
Sick.
Either by having the
I wanna meet
rumblings
them.
of the city scrawl
Yeah,
out
guys,
orders
I gotta keep it about, dude. This is making me want to play Limbus like right now. I can't, but it's making me really want to.
for people to follow for protection,
Jesus.
and if they don't, they're executed, or by having a book of vengeance where you never once let anything slide. Any transgression gets marked down there, and the person who did it hunted. Now, because these syndicates exist and terrorize people, fixes are also a thing. They're basically like syndicates, but considered the good guys. Though
Okay.
I struggle to say most fixers out there are a beacon of morality. As to actually get
Considered
help
the good
from them,
guys.
you need money. Everything in the city is built around the same theme. Even though the
Money.
locations may vary from a library to a mega corporation or the Great Seas, it all serves the same theme Project Moon wants to convey. But the most important thing is that individually, the parts still work.
Yeah.
Man, I'm terrible at explaining. That sounds like a line ripped from Destiny's dog shit writing. What I mean to say is that there doesn't feel like a loose end in the world, minus the concept incinerator, which is a device that can delete concepts of things. I mean, they
that
sort of helped hand wave just how many
sense,
holes
but
that
also
open
trains,
up.
right?
Dear God, it just exists.
trains running around the whole place.
Especially how it appeared at first for a comedy event. But that aside, and this also goes for
Jesus.
Arknights, there's no individual part of the setting that feels like it is ripped from a different game.
Yeah,
there
that's
are
sick,
parameters
dude.
set for the world, and everything exists.
I mean, that's probably a big reason why people adore Limbus Company as a story, right?
Like for Limbus, guns are a thing. So, why doesn't everyone use them? Well, the head, basically the government of the city, taxes the fuck out of them because they don't want killing another person to be so easy. So using guns and buying ammo isn't the most cost efficient.
It's a good
Which
idea.
is what the entire world is built around. Money, going back to the capitalist theme. And those that
What
have a lot of
happens
money,
if they just steal, bro? Maybe I'll find out if I play.
they can get
Maybe I'll find out when I play, not if I play. I will play.
shit that's stronger than guns. It's little things like that, the various
Jesus.
places in the world being actually
Jesus.
explored, the fact their history is so intertwined, hell, the fact the places in them aren't just tropes, repeating for the millionth time, that actually makes these worlds feel believable.
Yeah.
They didn't go through a checklist to say, our world is X, Y, and Z, and here is why you should care. They bring you through the world like a history teacher passionately speaking about what they love. In the case of PM's world, that history teacher was probably a sadist based on how fuck shit gets there, but to me, these little things are what makes these worlds amazing.
Yeah,
They're
I can
believable
definitely
because
see
anything
that.
mentioned in the world is with consideration of what else is in the world. The places in them aren't built up with only that area in mind, and they don't fall for whatever
Yeah,
generic
they could
trope.
exist by themselves, but they really aid the other districts. And again, if you see something happening in, for example, I don't know, just to pull something out of my ass here, District 7, and like you notice something, you're like, oh, that's probably because District 9 had influence on it because they don't like District 13, right? I love that kind of stuff.
People have come to hate. The world also
Jesus.
isn't used as a plot device. There's no, oh, we need to go get the sacred hero's sword, so let's go to the village that
Yep.
only exists for the sacred hero's sword and nothing
Unique story as well.
else. The people there exist for no other reason. And the overall theme of the story isn't broken for some self-indulgent want of what they want to make in an area. Yeah, to me, someone who isn't really a writer, minus that one fanfic I wrote for charity, and maybe upcoming to 2, we'll see how this year's charity
Oh,
goes.
God.
But I wouldn't say I'm like an expert in the realm of world building. But
Who's
I love
Ishmael?
these 2
I like that
games and
name.
wanted to just ramble on about why their worlds have had such an impact to me and why I love them.
Bro, 100%,
I mean,
that
shit,
was
I've
sick.
contemplated making some hour-long videos just going through the full history of these worlds. The only thing stopping me from making that is those videos are going to be like months long
Yeah.
to make. So
Yeah,
for now,
you gotta
I'm gonna
prioritize
just
for
settle
sure.
with this self-indulgent rant of a video.
That was great, dude. That was great. I am very excited to play Limbus Company and also Arknights Enfield, but more so Limbus right now, to be honest, because I know it's already out and we don't have to wait for it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the Limbus playthrough. Go check out Sunu, linked in the description below as well. And thank you all for watching.